You know, if there's one debate that constantly circles around NBA Twitter or your local schoolyard or gym where basketball is being played, and that's a debate on who had the greater legacy between Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. Now, I'm going to be as objective as possible. And when it comes to the debate between who had the greater legacy between Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, you know, a lot of the times the fanboys for both sides tend to mess it up and muddy up the waters. So I'm going to give you the rundown. For starters, let's start off with Tim Duncan. Now, Tim Duncan, he's a 5-time NBA champion, a 15-time All-NBA selective, 15-time All-Star, 2-time MVP award winner, 3-time Finals MVP award winner, 8 times All-NBA defensive first team selections. I mean, the list goes on for this guy. Like, Tim Duncan had a great career, nothing less than that, a great NBA career. And then, on the flip side, you got your man Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, an 18-time NBA All-Star, a 5-time champion, an MVP award winner in 2008. Surprisingly, he only has one. 2-time Finals MVP award winner, 11 times he was selected onto the All-NBA first team. 11 times. 15 in total, 15 All-NBA selections, 11 times he made it on the first team, and he held the record in the NBA until your man LeBron James broke that. And then also to add on, Kobe, 4th on the all-time scoring list, top 5 scoring, second most points scored in an NBA game. He once held the record for most threes hit in a single game. The list goes on for Kobe Bryant. I mean, 9-time All-NBA defensive first teams. Like, the dude, both Tim and Kobe, they do their thing on both ends of the floor, offense and defense. So you can't take anything away from them when it comes to that. But when you talk about who had the greater legacy for two players who are going neck and neck at it, what is the deciding factor? What can you, differentiate the two? What actually separates them from the rest? Now, when you look at the likes of like Tim Duncan, everybody knows his nickname, the Big Fundamental. He has the skills, fundamentally sound, everything about that. So when it comes to that aspect of like skill set, it's actually quite a debate because many people argue Kobe Bryant is actually the most skillful player in NBA history. Kobe Bryant is very ambidextrous, can score with both right and left, dribble with both right and left. Not to mention he has a plethora of post skills. His mid-range game is one of the best in NBA history. And then when you look at Tim Duncan, let's not take away his post skills as well as his mid-range game is really up there. So when it comes to the skill set, hey, it's debatable on who's better than who skill-wise. Athletically, we give the edge to Kobe Bryant in that aspect. But when it comes to the skills, they're both neck and neck. But many of Kobe's contemporaries say that Kobe is the most skillful player in NBA history.
Okay.
I think MJ is the greatest of all time, but I think Kobe is more skilled than any player that's ever played that I've seen.
I don't think that's.
I think Kobe's more skilled than
That's not a
anybody.
bad. That ain't far off.
You rolling with that?
He's up there.
Oh,
Skill-wise, we just talking about
I don't know
skill.
if that's good or bad.
Yeah.
But I agree with
Now,
you.
when it comes to greatest legacy and for two players that are so, in terms of accolades, so close in accolades, basically it's pretty hard to separate the two. The only thing you can use to separate them is now dominance. Who was the most dominant player between the two? All right. Now, for starters, Tim Duncan, he came into the league guns a-blazing. I mean, he came in way better than where Kobe was when Kobe came into the league. I mean, Tim Duncan was an all-star his rookie year. By his second season in the league, he was already an NBA champion and an NBA Finals MVP award winner. Can't say that for Kobe Bryant. Tim Duncan, arguably, by the time he was on the Spurs, was the best player on the San Antonio Spurs. Kobe, on the other hand, was not the best player on the Lakers when he came into the league. You had players like Nick Van Exel ahead of him, Eddie Jones ahead of him, and not to mention the most dominant player in NBA history, Shaquille O'Neal. So the cards were stacked against Kobe Bryant. He was not the best player on that Laker team. Heck, he wasn't even the best player on that Laker team until maybe after his third title, somewhere around there. After they went 3-peat, he became the best player. So, and by that time, Tim Duncan was on route of winning his second MVP award. So when it came for the starters, Tim Duncan for sure had the edge over Kobe Bryant. But let me put it this way. not to say that Kobe Bryant wasn't doing his thing. I mean, arguably, during that same time period, by the time you get to 2000, 2001, Kobe Bryant is arguably the best perimeter player in the NBA. One of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA by that time. You have the likes of Doug Christie, Jason Kidd, and then of course, you have to mention Kobe Bryant in that list. I mean, when it came to that point guard, shooting guard, or even small forwards, the list isn't very large. Well, you can't name too many players ahead of Kobe Bryant at that time. You know, defending the perimeter. You may toss in a Ron Artest, but hey, let's put it out there. Kobe Bryant was making these all-NBA defensive teams at that guard position. Ron Artest and the likes of people of that at the small forward position, those are forwards. Not to mention Kobe was always, you know, a gunner offensively. You know, by the time 2003, 2002, even 2001 rolled around, he was top 5 in scoring in the league, year in, year out. Some say he should have won the scoring title in 2003. Actually, he did score more points. So when you look at that aspect of it, it's kind of like unfair that Kobe was playing with the best player in the NBA at the time, which was Shaquille O'Neal. Nobody else was better than him, and Kobe had to, you know, basically earn his stripes. When Tim Duncan, he came into a system that was already solid in foundation, but he just happened to be the best player. Players like David Robinson and Avery Johnson, they were on their way out of there. And by 2003, David Robinson, he was done, you know. So when it came to the earliest stages of their career, definitely that score goes to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was more dominant than Kobe Bryant on that aspect. But when you look at the second half, you know, the second half of their careers, coming into the second half, let's talk about like around the mid-2000s, definitely that was no other than the Black Mamba himself, Kobe Bean Bryant. He was the best player. I mean, by 2005, between the years 2005 to 2010, Kobe Bryant was arguably the best player in the NBA. No doubt about it. From 05 to 2010, Kobe Bryant was arguably the best player in the NBA. 2006, 2007, we all know what Kobe Bryant was doing. 2006, he was shattering scoring records with 81 points, averaging 35 a game, the most scored by average by a player since Michael Jordan. Then you get in 2007, he does it again, you know, winning the scoring title. So Kobe Bryant was doing his thing offensively, and also not to mention, he did not dip defensively as well. Kobe Bryant also too was making it onto the All-NBA defensive first team, not second, first team, while he was winning those scoring titles. And there's only one other player in NBA history to have done that, and that is the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. So during the mid-2000s, Kobe Bryant was definitely more dominant than Tim Duncan. It's unfortunate, while Tim Duncan was winning titles like around 2005 and as well as in 2007, Kobe Bryant was busy stuck playing with Kwame Brown and Smush Parker. He didn't have quite the team to be able to help elevate that, elevate the status in terms of accolades. But in terms of dominance, ain't no doubt about it. You heard the likes of coaches like Mark Jackson, his fellow teammates, everybody all.
But Kobe Bryant, at the end of the day, Dan, because you think I'm a punk, will go down as the greatest basketball player that has ever lived.
Even people who hated him, like Rajah Bell, they all admitted Kobe Bryant was the best player in the league. No doubt about that. Even LeBron James came out and said Kobe Bryant is the best player in the league. So when it came to the mid-2000s, Kobe Bryant definitely wins that over Tim Duncan. Now for the latter half of their careers, this is like around the late 2000s up until they retire. Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, both, you know, still stellar players. Tim Duncan, you know, he got his, besides his last title that he won in 2014, but he got his last finals MVP in 2005. When he got into the finals in 2007, that was Tony Parker's team. And Tony Parker by that time had taken over the Spurs. Him and Manu Ginobili, they were running it, and Tim Duncan was a great complementary piece to them. Superb complementary piece, dominant complementary piece, since we're on the topic of dominance. But why I don't give him the edge over the likes of Kobe Bryant in terms of dominance in the later half of their career is, while Kobe was slow to start off, Kobe continued his dominance from the mid part up until he, you know, ruptured his Achilles and basically was done by that time. So you look at Kobe Bryant, by 2008, he was already beating Tim Duncan, you know, beating Tim Duncan teams who were the defending teams. Remember the 2008 Western Conference Finals. That was the Lakers versus Spurs. Now, the minute Kobe Bryant got the likes of Pau Gasol, when Kobe actually got another All-Star, Kobe Bryant was in the finals. Think about that. That shows you the level of dominance I was talking about. He's just a year removed from winning the scoring title. The minute they gave Kobe another All-Star, nothing changed from that team. Lamar was still there, Vladimir Romanovich, Jordan Farmar, all those other guys were still there from 07. But the minute Kobe got another All-Star, he was back in the finals. He was defeating the Spurs. The Spurs, who were the defending champions in 08. Kobe wiped them up in 6. That was it. And got into the finals. And then went to the finals again in 09, and then again in 2010. So 3 straight finals, and we all know he got 2 of them in 09 and 2010. And hey, and throughout that whole time, Kobe was making it onto the All-NBA defensive team, first team, as well as the All-NBA first team, up until 2013. So Kobe Bryant was continuous the dominance, while Tim Duncan really wasn't. I mean, you look at the 2010 Western Conference semis, where they went up against the likes of the Phoenix Suns. Tim Duncan was busy getting dominated on by Amari Stoudemire. You go even further back to even like around 06, where Tim Duncan was losing to the likes of Dirk Nowitzki in Game 7. So you can imagine if Kobe was facing that type of ridicule, if Kobe was going through that during that time, you already seen the heat Kobe was getting because people had higher expectations for Kobe. People already looked at Kobe as, hey, you're supposed to be compared to Michael Jordan. You're the most dominant player in the NBA. There's no excuse why you should be losing. But those same type of, requirements weren't levied on Tim Duncan because everybody had came to the understanding that Tim Duncan just was not that guy anymore. That team was now levied onto Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. And then later on in Tim Duncan's career, they slowly started transitioning into Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard. But, back onto like the Kobe tip, Kobe, while he was winning his MVP awards, his only MVP award in 2008, he was making it to the finals. He went to 3 straight finals. But if you look at Tim Duncan's career, Tim Duncan has never went back-to-back in any of his most dominant times. He never made a trip back-to-back to the finals, let alone a three-peat. So for Kobe to make it to 3 straight finals right there, and in midst of those 3 straight finals, he was making it on the All-NBA team, first team, and the All-NBA defensive teams. He was easily top 5 in scoring in the league, one of the best defenders in the league. Hey, on top of that, winning a gold medal compared to Tim Duncan's bronze medal that he won in 04, it goes to show you Kobe Bryant was the more dominant player in the later half of their careers. Remember, they're only a year apart in draft class. Kobe was in the 96, Duncan was in 97. So their careers are pretty much following each other. So both in the middle and the later half of their careers, Kobe Bryant gets the edge. Not only was he beating Duncan in the later half, in like the likes of the year 2008, you got to look at it too, he was winning more. And when Tim Duncan got his 5th ring, by that time, Tim Duncan was not even the top 2 or 3 best players on the Spurs. Finals MVP award went to who? None other than Kawhi Leonard. Then you had the likes of Tony Parker, who won it in 07. And those who Pop was really trying to transition the franchise to. No longer Tim Duncan. They already knew that. So when it comes to the later half, like I said, of dominance, you got to give that edge to Kobe Bryant. Even looking at their playoff matchups, if you want to put that in a criteria against team success, Kobe's 4-2 against Tim Duncan. He did not play in 2013, but even if you give 2013 to Tim Duncan, that still makes Kobe 4-3 against Tim Duncan. So the edge definitely, again, goes to Kobe Bryant. There's not too many players in a series matchup that you can say throughout Kobe Bryant's career actually dominated Kobe Bryant one-on-one. Nobody. But you can make the list against Tim Duncan. You have the likes of Amari Stoudemire in 2010, as well as in the 05 conference finals. Amari Stoudemire, I think, averaged like 37 points on Tim Duncan. Dirk Nowitzki dominated on Tim Duncan. Kevin Garnett, at certain points of time, if he even had a squad, was dominating against Tim Duncan. But you can never really put somebody at that guard spot or that swingman position that can say that they were just dominant over Kobe Bryant. So to conclude, you already know where I'm going with this. If I have to say who was the more dominant player between Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, you know who I have to go with. None other than the Black Mamba himself, Kobe Bean Bryant. All right, Kobe Bryant, easily more dominant than Tim Duncan. I laid it all out there. I want to hear what y'all have to say. Let's debate about this. Let's talk about this. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I'm out.